Hey, everybody, welcome to Declutter Me. This is a podcast about organizing and decluttering your life. And hello again, Shelina.
Hi, Shrek. How are you?
I'm good. You're sounding much better today. Has something changed at your end?
Yes, I got a microphone from a certain producer
There we go.
who would
So
be you.
that would be me.
Finally, I'm special enough now to have my own microphone. I feel so blessed. Blessed. Did you
Oh,
like
good
that?
God.
Oh, we bring comedy to every episode.
No, I think the laurels of this comedy let it to be just yours. I don't want any part of it.
Anyway, yes, thank you very much for this super duper tiny little microphone that I've got in front of me now.
Yeah, well, it helps that we're now allowed to move around a little bit more freely, and my new mics as a result arrived finally.
Yes.
So we were able to kind of get these mics out over the last week, so
Yes.
we can now record in better quality, which is great.
Yeah, that's exciting, isn't it?
It is. So what do we have for our listeners today?
So today I thought, let's not talk about quarantine-y kind of things. Let's talk about clutter.
Oh, yeah, completely unrelated.
Yeah, completely unrelated. But that's not what we talk about ever. I thought, let's talk about the different types of clutter. Because, we talk about how to organise and declutter certain areas and rooms, but we've never delved into the types of clutter that exist. We might have mentioned it in certain specific podcasts, which we will bring up again here today. But, I thought, yeah, it would be kind of fun and interesting to talk about the different types of clutter. So what do you think is a type of clutter? You think of one.
I mean, when you say type of clutter, do you mean like by item, or do you mean by, I don't know, by organization or something?
By type. So for example, sentimental clutter.
Right.
So there's sentimental clutter, which is stuff that you like, your baby's first clothes when they're in hospital, or your graduation outfit, or the dress to the prom. I'm talking about clothes a lot, but there's something for your nan. Your grandmother gave you something that's hideously ugly, but it's sentimental because it's from your grandma. Those are sentimental clutter. So they're just taking up valuable real estate in your house, in your wardrobe, in your cupboards, on your bookshelves, and you don't fit into them. You don't like them. There's too many of them. I mean, like when your baby was born, you had the first outfit. That's great. But then there was the next day outfit you kept, and the one after 1 week, and the one for 1 month. You don't need to keep all of them. You most probably have pictures of them that you could put onto a digital frame. Or, with the first outfit, you could get it framed, like get an IKEA frame, put them on there, put it on the wall, and then at least you have it. But instead of keeping it in a wardrobe or in a box, you know what I mean? So that's sentimental clutter. It's keeping these things that are just taking up space, you're not using, they're just in a box or they're hidden somewhere, and you're never going to use it or display it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is that if it's things that you're keeping behind, not for any real utility, but just because there's some sentiment attached to it, whether it's because it came from someone or it's about someone or whatever.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
the idea.
Yeah. And the same applies to, with sentimental clutter, the same applies when you get presents from, say, family or friends.
Yeah, I think that's a big one for most people, yeah.
Yeah, especially here, like families go away on holiday and they buy presents for their cousins and their brothers and sisters. And it's always a discussion I have with my clients and say, do you think they're going to like that? Will they like a magnet or clogs from Netherlands or something from Germany when they've never been there? They don't have any sentimental value to it except that it's from you.
Yeah.
You're just cluttering their life with things from a place they've never been to, and they might go there eventually and buy their own stuff. But why are you burdening them with your holiday items? Buy stuff for yourself. Waste that money on, buying something for yourself. Buy a magnet for your own fridge, you don't need to.
I like how you say, waste that money on yourself.
Yeah. I mean, some of my clients buy so much stuff, like hundreds and hundreds of euros and pounds and dollars of stuff. I'm like, well, you could buy a handbag with all that money you've spent on buying all these gifts for people. Yeah. Don't buy gifts, buy a nice bag for yourself, So that's the sentimental clutter. Another type of clutter is clutter that has no storage space. So, when things are overflowing, so you haven't got room for them in your wardrobe, so that's on the floor or at the bottom of the wardrobe or on the bed or just in random places that shouldn't be. The same with, in your lounge, there might be a coffee book that there's just piles of coffee books and you haven't got enough room on your coffee table to put all these books. So that's, it hasn't got space for itself. So why are you buying all these coffee books? Especially when there's those big book warehouse sales, people buy so many books, but then they don't have space on their bookshelves or on their tables for them. So there's that saying, a place for everything and everything in its place. And that's what has to be always, you have to think about when you are thinking about clutter, decluttering and organising. Do you have a space for everything? Is there a place for it? If there isn't, that's clutter and that's a type of clutter. And you need to find a storage solution for it, or you have to consider decluttering it. So that's the one. The third one is bargain clutter. Yeah, so that's when, and we've talked about it about the Black Friday. So we
it's
can.
the one that you buy basically because it's just a good deal whether you need it or not, right?
Yeah.
Again, critical at this time, I think, with pantry stuff.
Yes.
Where everything is literally everything. You walk into the supermarkets now and it's like right in front of you, you're greeted with, here's how you buy stuff in bulk. Here's 5 of these and 6 of those, right? So
yeah, it's like 10 for 10 dirhams or something like that. And or you'll see on online shops they have electronics and it will be cheaper than normal. Like a TV will be cheaper than it normally is. So you buy it. You don't need it. You already got a nice big TV, but you buy another one just in case. Or another KitchenAid because you're going to start baking when you're not really a baker, or you might be right now, but not in the future. So when that happens, when you see that there's a good deal and there's a great price, resist it. If you don't need it, if you don't have the space for it, if it's not essential in your life right now, and a lot of things right now is about being essential, right? We've got this, everything is, you have to buy what's essential, you have to go out when it's essential. Do the same for bargain clutter. Is it essential in your life? If it's not, don't buy it. Or leave it in the basket and then don't press shopping, pay for it, and then see if it's still there after a week or so, then maybe consider buying it. But it's really don't.
I think for me, I tend to use the wish list. So Amazon has a wish list. IKEA has also the wanted list kind of situation, right? So there are times when I see something, I'm like, oh, I would really like that, but instead of dumping it into a cart, I dump it into that list. And it just gives me a chance to review it again and feel like, oh, actually, it was a good deal, but I don't really need something like that.
And that's a good thing to do. It's a bit harder when you go into shops, especially now that the shops are opening here in the UAE again, so people can go out again. And as you said, there's all these sale items because they're trying to get people to buy stuff right now. But if you don't need it, don't buy it. It's clutter at the end of the day. Another thing is trash, pretending to be clutter. So, and that's the easiest kind of stuff. So it's like your newspapers, your magazines, expired food. That's all clutter. It's in your fridge.
Glass bottles for me today,
Yeah, glass bottles, and I'm sure you have a few of them because you're into, having these glass bottles. But how many do you need in your life on a day-to-day basis? 1.
Yeah.
And maybe 1 extra in case you break one. And that's it. You don't need 5. So junk mail, you get those things, coupons on the door as well. That's all trash. It's not, it's clutter. It's trash clutter. Let's call it what it is. It's not, the newspaper, once you've read it, the news is changed within a few hours or the next day, and you can't use it for fish and chips. So you need to go put it in the recycle bin. Same with magazines. People keep magazines for years and years. Like the celebrity is most probably divorced whoever was on the cover, they were on the cover with, but you still got that magazine, So that's trash clutter. So get rid of that, And another one is also a type of clutter, and you've talked about that with the supermarkets. It's called abundance clutter, where you buy these bulk buy of things. So I see a lot here, especially because it's Ramadan, our favourite time of the year, where people love bulk buying things. So oil, tomato paste, that seems to be a big thing. People think that they need 30 cans of little tomato paste. They don't. I had that in a house the other day. A client had bought so many of these tomato paste bulk buy. They were so old, they had started coming out of the tin. It sort of exploded inside.
Right.
So that's what happens with these foods when you bulk buy them and don't use them, or they get bugs inside them. So, you know, when you bulk buy on rice, pasta, even flour, and you don't use it. And I think there's going to be a lot of abundance clutter found in a lot of houses right now, because people did go a bit crazy going to the supermarkets and stocking up. And you're going to find that there's going to be a lot of food that is expired in a year or so, which you haven't used because you just bought so much of it. So that's a thing to think about.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was about to say for tomato paste as well. Like during the time when when we were in like a heavy lockdown and stuff, like actually all the supermarkets, I mean, it was a good idea, but they were lining up shelves with things that would stay for a long time. So tomato paste, pasta in like bulk quantities, so because they knew people wanted to stock up. So they were of course catering to the need, but as a result of which, I think people would just be like, oh yeah, I'll take a whole tray of tomato paste jars and pop it in. It definitely happened, a lot.
Yeah. It happens, and stockpiling, it's useful for certain things if you use it all the time. But the problem is right now that people are just stockpiling for the sake of stockpiling. Like, how many cans of tuna and soup do you need in your life? Or canned tomatoes? I accidentally did stockpile, and and I'm not that kind of person usually, but I ended up having about 6 cans of canned tomatoes, which is 4 more than I always normally have. So, but luckily I've been going through them. But so that's the thing, So, and it's the same with clothes. People like buying a lot of the same tops just because they like one. They buy all the colors. Excuse me. And decorations and stuff. So it's just things that you stockpile up, and that's just too much stuff, and it becomes clutter in your pantry, in your cupboards, in your bookshelves. Anywhere, So try and resist stocking up on items that you don't need to. Finally, not finally, actually, there's 2 more. Aspirational clutter. That's a new thing that's coming up. So that is, and especially on a lot of these online shops and these home decor shops, a place like IKEA and, Marina and JYSK, all these kind of shops, they have all these knickknacks to put up, or all these framed things with sayings, aspirational quotes that you could put on the wall, and vases and little trays to put trinkets. How many trinkets do you have to have how many trays, and how many aspirational quotes do you need on your wall? You could have it on your desktop. You can have a scrolling quote thing on your desktop, going around. You don't need to buy all this frame stuff, and which you then don't put on the wall because you don't want to ruin the walls. So there's a lot of that, and and buying things to make your house look pretty and nice and look like it's on Pinterest, but it ends up being clutter if you keep on buying and buying and buying. And especially with a lot of these online stores, they have special offers for all this homeware stuff, so it just keeps on becoming more and more aspirational and cluttery. So that's a big problem, and I'm seeing it more and more, especially because people could do online shopping. So when you see people's houses, especially now, it's you go on Zoom calls or you see it online that there's people having these conversations, and you see in the background they've got all these bits and pieces. Actually, I'm just looking at mine. No, that's not that too many. It's just a few bits and pieces. But like some people have loads and loads of stuff all over their bookshelves, and so it's all these little knickknacks that you don't need. It's clutter, and it becomes dusty, and it adds to the dust, which you don't need as well. So
I'm just going to throw a quick bone here for the guy, and I have to look up the name of the Twitter handle that was doing a review of everybody's houses based on their Zoom pictures. Do you see that? Yeah. It was really, really hilarious. Everybody from Hugh Jackman to all the celebrities, and he was just rating everybody's houses. It was great.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman's is terrible. He's sitting in his walk-in closet. It's horrible. Every time I look at it, I'm like, I really want to go and organize his walk-in closet. Like, it's so bad. It's so messy.
So Hugh Jackman, or anybody that knows Hugh Jackman, if you're listening to this, if you're watching us,
yes,
This person on this screen over here, on the left screen over here, as I'm pointing now, is the person who will do it for free, I'm sure.
Yes, I will. Just let me do it.
Or she'll do like 2 hours for free, and then they only charge you for 2 hours. Yeah, something like that.
I'm sure you can afford my rate.
Special deal. Yeah, special deal for you, Jacqueline, wherever you are.
Please let me do it. It's really bad. Yes, please. But J.K. Rowling's is really good, lovely. She's very organised in her bookshelves. It's all colour coordinated. It's very nice. But yeah, there are some awful. That Twitter account is brilliant. It's brought me lots of angst and lots of joy in all mixed in one.
We will absolutely link to it in the show notes.
Yes. What's it called? Rate a Room or something like
that. Yeah, I'll look it up and we'll put it in the show notes. So for your entertainment.
Yes, well. Yeah, and then you can see what Hugh Jackman's room looks like. And so the final type of clutter is Freebie Clutter, which we have talked about before. When you go to business networking events or just anywhere, you get this freebie stuff, or you order online. Like there's Sephora gives free samples when you order stuff, and it's free samples of stuff that you'd like, a little packet of cleanser or shampoo or a rubbish mascara that you don't need, and it's just clutter. There's so much of it, and then when you go to these networking events, you get goodie bags of stuff. Lots of coupons of things you're never going to use. And you get mugs and cups and pens and notebooks. It's all clutter. It's free. It might be free. It might look nice. Some of the notebooks are sometimes nice. But generally, it's clutter. You know what I mean? So, that's another one. And if you can, and if we have to remember which podcast it was. We've talked about it before where, and I said what I do is I'll look at the goodie bag when I'm in the car, see what's in there. Anything I like, I'll put it in my handbag. The rest of it, I'll give away. I'll give it to, say, the security guards or the maids or something like that. I don't keep it with me in my house if I can help it, because I just don't want that clutter coming into my life. It's not worth it.
Because it becomes, and this kind of ties into the point we were making earlier, because eventually that becomes the junk masquerading as clutter, right?
Yes.
Because it's just sitting at home. It is very difficult to get rid of. I'll assure you. I was alluding to glass bottles earlier, and it's the same thing. I kept them because I was like, well, I'll find a way to reuse them. I'll use them for water. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And then I have a stack of glass bottles. I just don't want to throw them.
Yeah.
And I put them in recycling just this morning because I was like, they've just been sitting there, and they're just clutter.
Yeah, it is. And it does happen. And it happens to everyone. I mean, not so much for me, but it does happen to everybody else. I have to be good. But so that's the types of clutter that's around there right now. So, think about what types you have in your house. And if you have them, do the mini decluttering to start getting rid of them. So if you say, like you did with your glass bottles, that was a mini declutter. You saw the glass bottles, you put them into recycling. So an easy one to do is the trash clutter. So go around, find all the trash, the newspapers, magazines, the coupons, glass bottles, get them and put them all into recycling. And then you can start with, say, the abundance clutter or the clutter that doesn't have a space, that's not got a proper place for itself, the freebie clutter, the overstocking clutter, the abundance clutter, and the sentimental clutter will be a bit more difficult to get rid of. But if you do it step by step, do a mini declutter, do 10 to 15 minutes of that area or that stuff, it'll be easier to, get rid of it.
Yep, that's perfect. So that's all the kinds of clutter that we want to talk about today. But in addition, if you want to talk to Shelina about this, so of course Shelina now is available to come in and help you with your decluttering directly, now that the restrictions have eased up. But of course she does have online sessions as well. So if you're sitting anywhere in the world and you can't get to her, or it's just something you prefer to do at this time, you can get a hold of Shelina by visiting declutterme.com, reaching out on social media as well at declutterme. So that's DECLUTTRME.
Yeah.
And you can get in touch with her and she can take you through some of the things you can get started on with the different types of clutter. So I think that's it from us for this week.
That's it, yes.
And we'll see you next week.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.